This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio is the king of college football talk, hosting on WNSR from 6 to 9 every morning, Monday through Friday. And we always appreciate his time Wednesdays here on Halftime. Bill, media days are sort of in your backyard, right? But you stay home. You've been to media days quite a bit. When's the last media days you attended, and why do you stay away?
July of 13. That was number 25. Now, I didn't plan on that being number 25, but it was my last year on Sirius. I spent a decade on that. We invented that station, and at the end of that, I just thought I'd done enough. And it's really it's useless for me. If I'm going to go to an event like that, I want to learn something. There's nothing to be learned by being there for me. And so I choose not to go. Matter of fact, the station was getting our set up and paying for all the stuff and everything. I just told them, I said, I wouldn't do that. I said, I don't want to go. So I'm not going again, guys. My plan is to never go again.
Did you see? We just talked about Phil brought up Chad Morris being an offensive analyst at Clemson. Do you think that's a good fit for him?
You mean where he was the coordinator before? I think he has something. When they turned everything around, and got to remember, this is before Deshaun Watson. This is Taj Boyd.
Oh, yeah.
When he took over that offense, that was huge. I think that was, if you were to go back and look at Dabo Swinney's ascension, I think Chad Morris was incredibly responsible for that. And I know things were just a disaster at Arkansas and other places, but in that setting, he was a remarkable hire. And now, yeah, after that, did they have a generational quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and later when he was gone, Trevor Lawrence? That's been good, too.
And those receivers, man, they had first round after first round, yeah.
No question.
Well, some guys are just cut out maybe more to be coordinators or assistants of some kind than a head coach. I guess Dan Enos viewed himself that way. Remember, I mean, he was the Central Michigan head coach, I think, for 4 years. He's been a top-notch assistant ever since. Sam Pittman today did say, Bill, that in this offense under Dan Enos, he expects that KJ Jefferson will throw a little more than he did the last few years and run a little bit less. Now, he's a really good runner, but, man, I like hearing that because I don't want him taking too many hits. I need him on the field. This is a team that needs him on the field to win games.
We have this thing on the show called your bubble wrap player. And what that means is if you could wrap a player in bubble wrap and protect him, you cannot lose them. That would be Arkansas, right? And we know this. Yeah, and he's a big kid. It's not like he's not big and can't take some physicality. We know he can, but he's what he means is not real replaceable. They'll get other really good quarterbacks, but that's a guy you've got to be out there playing his max.
Who are some other bubble wrap players that you can think of for various teams? I think if I'm picturing LSU, is Harold Perkins a bubble wrap player? What are some other examples that you can think of? Spencer Rattler at South Carolina, perhaps?
Yeah, they have some guys behind him that they like. But, yeah. He finally came on last year after struggling for a couple of years. The number one bubble wrap player for a team that's in the top 10, I think, is Jordan Travis, the quarterback at Florida State. He's the head of the snake. And if he goes down, I don't think they have much of a replacement there. Caleb Williams at Southern Cal, if he goes down, sure, you're losing the best quarterback other than Drake May in America. They got a kid named Malachi Nelson, true freshman 5-star, who I think they'd plug in and would be pretty good. He may not be Caleb Williams with the experience and all that, but he's a big-time talent. I don't think that would be a problem. And Drake May, I think that would be a problem at North Carolina. But it's got to be somebody. And Harold Perkins is a fantastic freshman. But you got to remember, and Brian Kelly was talking about this the other day, Harold Perkins played, think about the Arkansas game. That kid doesn't play any technique. He's a true freshman. He weighed 205, played 205 pounds, 210 pounds. You know what his job was?
He was a rover.
Exactly.
Correct.
You know what Brian Kelly said? He said he didn't play linebacker. He played the athlete position.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the athlete position is? Go in there and find the ball.
No, you're exactly on, and that's what he is. He's an athlete, and at LSU you have enough talent around him that you have a couple two-gap players and let him make plays. Am I going too far out on a limb by saying everywhere Bobby Petrino goes, they win 10 games, they win 9 games? What's in Alabama doesn't have a quarterback? You think LSU is I think LSU is a national title contender, but I also think A&M could go worst to first. Is that just because of Petrino there himself? What do you think?
Despite being as big a jerk of any coach I've run into, other than Ralph Regent, he's a brilliant offensive mind. I used to say, this is before he got to Arkansas, Bob Petrino could walk by a random pile of rocks and get 250 yards passing and 150 yards rushing out of it. I'm not kidding. He would figure out a way to get it. He's a brilliant offensive mind. The only question, I think, guys, we've talked about this, is can those egos all coexist? And right now it's all lovey-dovey according to Jimbo, and maybe it is. But, and remember, the other day Jimbo didn't want to officially come out and say, when they asked him, is Bob Petrino calling the plays? I'm not getting into that. And again, that's kind of weird. Who cares?
That's what I thought too, Bill. Why don't you come out and say, this is our guy, man? He's obviously, it is.
That was
weird.
my point yesterday. I don't get it. It's like you can put that whole thing to rest, at least for a minute, by answering the question. And then it's like if things don't go well offensively, well, you got your fall guy. I didn't get it either. Is it ego? It must be.
Something, because you bring him in there, Bob. Look, I'd let him have it. It's your offense. Now let's go. Take it. I mean, if I'm Jimbo, I've got a $100 million deal. I don't need an ego, right? I've got my ego taken care of. I don't need any more, right? So I don't understand it. No.
And then also, I wanted, is there any way, I know you got a new OC, new quarterback at Georgia, but is Tennessee or South Carolina ready, or does Georgia walk away with the East again this year?
I think Tennessee's best prepared. I think South Carolina's a close third. Games in Knoxville. The only team that Tennessee last year couldn't have their way with was really Georgia. Now, the South Carolina game, but that was a weird week that maybe someday we'll talk about. But that was, we had a kid that quit, basically one of their captains on deep. It was a bad week. Anyways, but Georgia, line of scrimmage, they just couldn't hang with Georgia. And think about it. Tennessee's receivers were open all year long against anybody they played. Alabama, Clemson, couldn't get open against Georgia. It's going to have to be one of those games. It's in Knoxville where Georgia plays down like they did the Missouri game, where they had to come back and win. Otherwise, I don't see it.
So we're so used to seeing Alabama in these last, 6-7 years, put up 42 points, 49 points, 58 points, whatever, and they would just outscore opponents while putting out a solid defense, too. Are they back to winning some games in the 20s? Because when you look at who they have for quarterback and the way that Nick Saban talks about, he doesn't even know who's going to be, but he's going to have a game manager, which is what it sounds like. Just don't make any mistakes. I mean, are we kind of back to game manager quarterback in Alabama? Not 9-6, but, 21-17, 21-14, 17-0, something like that?
They have not played defense to be able to do that in a few years. So that's the question. Guys, they did not have dudes up front a year ago. Meaning, I'm talking about interior defensive linemen. They're not overly impressive at linebacker. Other than Kool-Aid McKinstry, they're not overly impressive in coverage. A lot of that's got to change, guys. Now, they have a lot of players, big-name recruits, and for all I know, they'll plug them all in and be great, right? But they've got a lot to fix, and to date, they have not been playing the defense to be winning these games that are close against a really good team, 21-17.
No, it's Georgia's defense that's played well enough to do that. With a guy in Stetson Bennett who, I'm not going to call him a game manager, but, he's a really good college quarterback.
Who's the Alabama guy, Phil, that we were just talking about? McElroy. Do you think they're similar, Stetson Bennett and Greg McElroy? Would you say they're kind of the similar mold when you're looking at that Georgia and Alabama?
Yeah, but Bennett is an underrated athlete. He's more athletic than McElroy. Arm talent, maybe McElroy slightly.
I was going to say neither one of them
So,
could play on Sundays.
No, and McElroy hung around a couple of years, didn't he, for the Jets or something?
We like to be a
But, yeah,
practice
you're right.
squad. Yeah.
Correct. I tell you what, Bennett was so good. We've talked about it, guys, and you played it.
Stetson Bennett reminded me of Connor Shaw. You remember Connor Shaw, Bill? Like that's kind of who the guy. Just he was scrappy, could kind of do a little bit of everything.
But anytime you had to have it, he got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you had to have it, he got it done. On the biggest stage, you're down double digits and one play away from maybe being done in the Ohio State game. Just keeps making plays.
What about quarterback in the SEC this year? I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns. The knowns would be KJ is going to be really good. Jaden Daniels needs to improve his accuracy. We don't know the kind of quarterback Spencer Rattler is going to be. Is he going to be what we've seen mostly in these first couple of years or what we saw at the end of last season? We know Joe Milton has a rifle, but he doesn't know where it's always going. A lot of unknowns at quarterback in the SEC. Maybe KJ Jefferson is the biggest known of all of them.
Now, Devin Leary at Kentucky's a dude. Very good player. I mean, a distinguished career prior. So put him on that list. I think they may improve at quarterback with him. That's what kind of talent he is. Now, he's had some injury issues and needs to stay healthy. But Devin Leary coming over from NC State is an absolute dude.
I think Stoops is talking right now. Third highest paid coach in the SEC. He's the second longest tenured coach in the Southeastern Conference. But as a 6-6 regular season acceptable at Kentucky, here at Arkansas, it doesn't feel like it will be. I think they went into the bowl game last year with 7 wins and then lost in a shutout to Iowa. But as another 7 or 6 win season at Kentucky, is that acceptable for that fan base? Because, man, I mean, it's almost like they got drunk on success with a 10-win season.
Well, and they do really, they're known for their basketball, but they have a passionate football fan base. Just through the years, they haven't had a lot consistently to be happy about. No, he's safe. He's really safe. Now, they may get down on him a little bit, but he's there as long as he wants to be. And he's got a huge contract, a massive buyout. But, yeah, and it's tough. Kentucky's a tough gig. You're limited. It's probably the worst state. No offense, but wouldn't you say Kentucky and Arkansas when it comes to just volume of football talent, players? It's hard. I mean, it's hard. And it's a pure basketball state, as we know, guys. And he has to go. You can go into Ohio and get some players that the Buckeyes miss on. You can go down into Tennessee. One of their receivers is from Nashville, who's a super player. Young receiver's got speed. They've got a outside linebacker who played on the high school team with my son, who I think is going to play in the NFL. So they get some players. They just don't get enough of them.
Yeah, that's very true. Arkansas has about 8 to 10, real high-level SEC guys, and so it's hard when you miss on those guys too. But that was one of the things that used to, and Coach Nutt would do, was recruit that Memphis area and recruit Texas and recruit Florida. That's just so important. You got to be able to glean some of the other guys. We got Ahmad Carroll from Atlanta, Georgia. He could have went anywhere in the country. Yeah.
Go up to Tulsa and get players. Go, dip over into Texas, East Texas. It's hard, but you can do it now. I mean, I look, guys. I grew up watching Lou Holtz and that '78 team that booted off their star running back and then destroyed Oklahoma. Matter of fact, one of my best friends, who's on my show on Fridays, Pete Cordelli, was the quarterback coach on that team for Lou Holtz, and he tells the incredible. Now he gives you day by day of booting those players off. Switzer so confident. They were a huge favorite in that game, and Arkansas just destroyed them. I go back to '89, guys, after that, with Quinn Grovey in that group, and just some fantastic football. So I know what Arkansas looks like when it's right, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Well, hopefully it's going to be right this year, and hopefully we're looking at 9 wins at the very least, maybe 8. We'll find out a little bit more in a couple weeks because that's when the workouts begin.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.